As an RF engineer, one of the most common things you'll find yourself doing is scrolling through component datasheets trying to find which group of components best suits your system's needs. But as you quickly find out, these datasheets can be super overwhelming with their huge page counts, pages of plots, and confusing spec names like OP1dB, OIP3, phase noise, and gain, just to name a few. Each of these has a big impact on the performance of your system, so it's integral to understand what they mean, which is why I'm starting this series to give you an understanding of each. Each component, like amplifiers, phase shifters, power splitters, filters, and more, each has its own specs, but some specs are common to many components. In this video, we'll cover gain in the context of an RF amplifier because it's the foundation for the rest of the amplifier's specs, and if you don't understand gain, you won't understand the rest of the datasheet. Let me know in the comments what other components and specs you'd like to see covered. Now, the basic function of an amplifier is to take an input signal and magnify it by some amount. That amount of magnification is the amplifier's gain. Putting that into an equation, we can say that the gain G of an amplifier is output divided by input. This can be done to either get a voltage gain or power gain, both by taking the output over the input. In this case, the magnitude of the output is 2, and the magnitude of the input is 1, so the gain would be a factor of 2. From this, we'd expect the value to be unitless, since we're dividing either input and output power, or input and output voltage, and that would give us watts over watts, or volts over volts, both of which would cancel. But this isn't what the datasheet shows. It's shown in dB, or decibels. If you're not familiar with the dB scale, it's just a nice way to represent ratios, like the ratio of output voltage to input voltage or output power to input power. The conversion from voltage gain to dB is 20 log of the ratio, and the conversion from power gain to dB is 10 log of the ratio. To see why this is useful, let's forget about the power gain for a minute and take a look at the voltage gain. Now, imagine you have 3 stages in a receiver chain. First, a low noise amplifier with a voltage gain of about 17, then a filter that reduces the signal voltage by 0.63, and finally a driver amplifier that boosts the signal by a factor of 8.2. To get the total gain in linear units, you multiply them. 17 times 0.63 times 8.2 is 87.7. That's not simple math to do in your head. But in dB, we add, which is much nicer for mental math, so let's convert these voltage gains to dB. 17 becomes 24.6 dB, 0.63 becomes negative 4 dB, and 8.2 becomes 18.3 dB. Summing these gains, we get a total of about 40 dB. Remember that I mentioned the conversion from power gain and voltage gain to dB were different. You may have noticed, though, there's only a single dB gain number in the datasheet. Why not a different one for voltage and power gain? Because I said the voltage gain is 20 log V out over Vn, and power gain is 10 log P out over Pn. Well, the linear power and voltage gains will not be the same, but their dB outputs will. So if you see 18 dB on the datasheets, that corresponds to a linear voltage gain of about 7.9 and a linear power gain of about 63. As a little exercise, try to figure out why this is. Here's a quick hint. It has to do with Ohm's law, where voltage equals current times resistance, and the power equation, where power equals voltage times current. Let me know in the comments what you think. Okay, so now we know what this 18 dB value in the datasheet means. But that single gain number isn't the full story. The actual gain depends on the input's frequency. Normally, the table will give you a minimum, typical, and maximum value for the gain, but if you flip through the pages to the plots section, we get some more context for that min, typical, and max. Now, this amplifier was built to operate from 10 MHz to 6 GHz, and that operating band can be found at the top of the datasheet. So we'll get a plot that roughly covers that frequency range, and often includes some frequencies slightly outside that band. You'll notice, though, that the gain doesn't just vary over frequency. They also include plots over different temperatures, supply voltages, current draws, and more, but that's a topic for another video. For this video, we'll look at the gain slope over frequency for the standard supply of 5 volts with a current draw of 125 milliamps at room temperature, about 25°C. And unfortunately, I haven't seen any companies offer dark mode datasheets yet, so let's just pull this gain data in and plot it ourselves. And give the frequency axis a little more room to breathe. There we go, much better. Okay, so the example input I've been using so far is a single frequency sine wave, but in reality, signals will normally have some bandwidth or comprise multiple frequencies. That non-zero bandwidth signal may look something like this. This signal, like all others, is just the superposition of each frequency component. So we can pull them apart and see the effect of this amplifier on each of these components. If we bring back in the amplifier's gain over frequency plot, we can see that this 1 GHz component would fall here on the plot, meaning it would get a gain of 18 dB. Going through the rest, this 2.4 GHz component would be amplified by 17.2 dB, the 4.3 GHz component would be amplified by 16.5 dB, and this last 6.8 GHz component, which falls outside of the operating band, would only get a gain of 7 dB. Now, let's actually apply those gains. Recombining these frequency components into the signal, we see that the overall signal is larger, and I've actually scaled it down quite a bit because 18 dB is a linear scaling factor of over 50, so this plot would be really hard to read if I scaled it proportionally. The shape does look a bit different though, because we haven't applied that gain uniformly. Some components got a lot of gain, while others got much less. Since we're dealing with the frequency component so much, it's common to just visualize the whole signal on a plot of power versus frequency, or how much power from each frequency component the signal contains. This is just like the output you'd see on a spectrum analyzer. Overlaying this plot with the amplifier's gain plot, we get a better understanding of how the amplifier's frequency response affects our input signal. To get the amplifier's output, we can add the blue input's power to the green amplifier gain curve for each frequency in this band. So pretty much all this amplifier is doing is taking an input signal that will probably span multiple frequencies and amplifying different parts of the signal by different amounts. Now, you'll want to choose which amplifier is best for your situation depending on what frequencies your signal contains. Like if you were building a satellite downlink at 24 GHz, the amp that we've been talking about wouldn't work at all. But maybe this amp would be a good fit for a Wi-Fi application. But that's not the only thing to consider. Like I showed at the beginning of the video, gain is just the first of many RF amplifier specs. So if you want to understand those, subscribe, because I'll be going through them one by one in videos like this. If you want to learn more about RF gain or practice your new knowledge, check out the Python notebook in the description with interactive examples, or check out some of the many other amazing resources on this topic, also in the description. If you want to support the channel further, I'm excited to announce some new RF and radar themed merch. Some are updated designs, and some are completely new, like the antenna pattern embroidered shirt and weather radar equation mug. By the way, most of the original designs will be going away at the end of the month to make room for the new designs. But don't worry, the most popular item, the radar equation mug, is here to stay. There's also channel memberships where you can get access to more in-depth resources like video walkthroughs of the Python notebooks and more. For those still here, I've included some stats about the video making process, and if you really want to know how these videos are made, the source code for the animations is in the description. Thank you so much for watching.